them, but one in particular I remember, probably about third grade. We had this teacher, Miss Heron, and she said, we were learning about the word minority.
But I was like just tracking him down, and then I finally got to read the script, and the script was a thriller. So that was a little confusing to me because he's like such a funny director.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know, what is this? Because the script is definitely like a twisting, turning, intense thriller. Is it a comedy or a thriller? And he said, yes. So then every day on set, I was like, is today a comedy or is it a thriller?
It's a good mix
and
of
it's
both.
like, yeah, it's like really kind of over the top and campy and trashy and fun and like, you know, kind of like my outfit, I guess.
What happens when Hollywood charm turns into cold-blooded takeover tactics? When the guy known for being the funny one turns out to be pulling strings behind closed doors? The internet is exploding with whispers. Rob McElhenney has allegedly exposed the truth about Ryan Reynolds' shady power moves behind the scenes at Wrexham AFC.
You did not know both of their lawsuits have been consolidated into one legal showdown instead of these two separate lawsuits.
And used her PR people to try and destroy Justin. And we're carefully considering other people that will be sued.
So in Justin Baldoni's lawsuit, he accuses Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively of colluding with the New York Times. Do you guys remember what the article was actually entitled that they actually released on 12/21? We can bury anyone inside a Hollywood smear machine.
And guess what? It reeks of the same manipulative energy his wife, Blake Lively, allegedly unleashed on director Justin Baldoni to hijack It Ends With Us. This isn't just a story about soccer or cinema.
From Armie Hammer, who got fired from Gossip Girl because he said during a dinner that she was a bitch, regarding Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, when I just recognize that they are up on their high horses and that they potentially treat people very bad.
At the Reynolds penthouse in Manhattan, where Ryan Reynolds allegedly bullied Justin so badly that a Sony representative, and her biggest takeaway was, it was so nasty.
It's about control, about what happens when celebrity. Couples stop playing nice and start playing kingmaker. From leaked texts to explosive lawsuits, the cracks in the Reynolds Lively empire are showing. And Rob, let's just say, he's not staying silent anymore. Let's break it all down, one brutal section at a time.
And to the point where this guy was in the basement at his own movie's premiere. And that what in fact happened was you guys were the ones out there generating negative press against Justin. You guys were the ones who were trying to ruin Justin.
Not seen a case so open and shut in my life. And the more that I read and the more details that I get into, I'm just shocked at how many lies were told, okay?
Everyone knows It Ends With Us was supposed to be Justin Baldoni's passion project. He secured the rights, he lined up the production, he even planned the whole aesthetic. But the second Blake Lively walked onto that set, things shifted.
But they believed her narrative instantly because the allegations were so strong. And I just kind of held fire because I don't trust the New York Times to save my life.
There's just so much more to this story, and the media's already like self-flagellating. Oh, we were too mean to Blake. And now you see text messages from Blake Lively comparing herself. She's the mother of dragons in Game of Thrones, that she too has her dragons, Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift.
Fast. Crew members say she allegedly began pushing for script rewrites that deviated from Colleen Hoover's original vision. Baldoni pushed back, but not hard enough, because within weeks, insiders claim Blake started calling the shots. Wardrobe, lighting, even editing choices. Nothing moved without her say-so.
I have no idea on what grounds these two are going to attempt to dismiss his lawsuit. I could understand some possible arguments that her publicist might make and fail, because I told you, he's got evidence.
And then came the revised final cut. Not Baldoni's version, Blake's. The original director's version was reportedly shelved by the studio after test screenings didn't reflect Blake's vision.
Ryan and Blake and two other of her friends all staged a mass unfollowing of Joe Alwyn like they were 13 years old. Okay, Ryan, you're 48 years old. Grow up.
Translation, she took the wheel and drove it wherever she pleased. And Baldoni, he was left in the passenger seat of his own movie. Now, let's jump across the pond to Wrexham, Wales. Frustrated customers are not only offloading these subpar products, but are also flooding social media with viral outcries demanding accountability.
The New York Times apparently reviewed 1,000 or more pages of text messages. They would have seen it. Justin never wanted to hurt her, never wanted to be negative to her. And it's all over the place.
Well, she filed a civil rights complaint in Los Angeles, and then within 24 hours, the New York Times had had the scoop. They published the complaint in its entirety, and it looked suspicious.
Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney bought Wrexham AFC in 2021 with big promises, revitalizing the team, restoring pride, and bringing Hollywood magic to local football. Sounds noble, right? Except fans are now wondering if Ryan's involvement was more takeover than team up. Multiple local sources claim that over time, McElhenney's input and decisions began to shrink. Sponsorships, player trades, and even media strategy allegedly started funneling through Reynolds' camp only. A Reddit thread from January exploded with posts claiming Ryan's inner circle began running Wrexham like a Marvel PR department, freezing out the community-first vibe that Rob insisted on from day one. And according to whispers, Rob finally had enough. A source close to the production of Welcome to Wrexham dropped a bombshell. McElhenney allegedly confronted Reynolds during a private off-camera sit-down. Why? Because Ryan had reportedly finalized a 5-year stadium deal with a massive sponsor without Rob's knowledge. The sponsor? A Reynolds-owned brand. Fans were livid. Rob was furious. And according to that same insider, the phrase, "You're turning this into a vanity project," was allegedly screamed across the training ground. Since then, Rob's been noticeably quieter in press rounds, noticeably absent at major team announcements, and, most telling, allegedly started pulling strings to separate his brand from Ryan's in upcoming seasons of the docuseries. It's the kind of fracture you can't unsee once you've seen it, and it feels eerily familiar. Back in Hollywood, Blake's move to sideline Baldoni triggered its own tidal wave. After her alleged power grab, Baldoni didn't just step back. He lawyered up. His team hit back with a $400 million countersuit against Lively and Reynolds, accusing them of defamation and coordinated sabotage. The most damning part? Emails and Slack threads from the It Ends With Us crew allegedly back up Baldoni's claims. Reports describe a Chimer Save the Third Act thread where team members documented how Blake allegedly derailed filming and restructured entire scenes behind Justin's back. If that sounds like creative betrayal, it is. If it sounds like history, repeating itself with Ryan at Wrexham. It might be. People used to call Blake and Ryan Hollywood's favorite couple, but these stories paint a different picture. The narrative now? A powerhouse duo who allegedly bulldoze anything that doesn't align with their image, from Ryan allegedly pushing Rob out of the Wrexham spotlight, to Blake allegedly muscling past Baldoni to control a film she didn't develop. There's a pattern. It's about dominance, PR control, image-first leadership that doesn't leave room for collaboration. Even fans have noticed. TikTok is flooded with videos comparing Rob's warm, inclusive energy to Ryan's smirking CEO approach. Others are splicing together Blake's infamous on-set diva moments with recent interviews that now read a lot more manipulative. The honeymoon phase is over. The PR masks are off. This was never supposed to happen. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds were Hollywood's most bulletproof couple, slick, safe, bankable. She was the red carpet goddess with a flawless public record. He was the sarcastic golden boy who could sell anything from gin to internet plans. But behind that glossy finish, the cracks have split wide open. And now, it's not just their reputations on the line, it's their entire empire. Let's start with Blake. Word from inside Disney is that executives have quietly classified her as yellow flag talent. That's not a public blacklist. It's worse. It's a silent alarm to studios, financiers, and insurers that a project with her attached may cost more, stall more, and invite more backlash than it's worth. Her name now allegedly triggers higher completion bond premiums. And in this town, insurance equals credibility. If a studio has to pay extra just to ensure your participation, that's code for you're too risky to touch. Why? It's not about her acting chops, it's about control, or rather, her alleged obsession with it. Sources say the It Ends With Us production didn't just go off the rails, it derailed because of Blake's behavior. Her insistence on overriding Baldoni's direction, her alleged behind-the-scenes edits, and the resulting PR disaster didn't just impact that one project, it sent ripple effects through the entire industry. One former studio exec allegedly said, "We don't want another It Ends situation." And the cherry on top, streaming giants like Netflix are reportedly walking away from any future Blake-led vehicles. Not because she can't draw attention, but because she brings too much of it, the wrong kind. Whispers of creative conflict history are making rounds in deal memos, and that's the kind of phrasing that kills green lights before they even make it to the boardroom. But while Blake's Hollywood influence is freezing over, Ryan is facing his own snowstorm in Wrexham. Remember when their purchase of Wrexham AFC felt like a fairy tale? 2 actors saving a historic football club? bringing global attention to a small town in Wales, that's over. The narrative has shifted, and it's not about magic, it's about marketing. Because now, the people of Wrexham are allegedly fighting to reclaim their own story. Local newspapers have reported a growing discontent among the fan base. The Wrexham Council allegedly received a wave of complaints about decisions made by Reynolds' team without community approval. We're talking sponsorships that erased local brands, game day promotions that felt more like Hollywood premieres, then football matches. One council member didn't mince words. It stopped feeling like a club and started feeling like a billboard. That one quote, it cut deep because it exposed the real fear that Wrexham, the soul of it, is being repackaged and resold for views. And Ryan, for all his charm, is allegedly the face of that transformation. Rob McElhenney hasn't thrown punches. He hasn't released a scathing statement. He hasn't blasted Ryan Reynolds in interviews. But make no mistake, he's swinging. Quietly, strategically, and maybe most brutally of all, authentically. Because while Ryan's PR machine is still firing on all cylinders, Rob has taken a different route. He's letting the silence speak for itself. It started with the interviews. Early on, any promo clip for Welcome to Wrexham featured the duo side by side, joking like college roommates. Rob would laugh at Ryan's one-liners. Ryan would bounce off Rob's grounded charm. But lately, that balance is gone. In recent press rounds, Rob appears solo. And when Ryan does show up, there's a stiffness, a pause before the laughs, a clipped response where there used to be camaraderie, fans noticed. TikTok edits started circulating comparing their 2022 promo tour to now. The captions say it all. Rob looks tired, not the same energy. Something happened. And behind the camera, something did happen. According to insiders close to the production, Rob allegedly began pulling back from Ryan after a series of unilateral decisions. One of the biggest, a licensing deal involving Wrexham merchandise that reportedly funneled royalties primarily to a Ryan-owned production entity. Rob, who had championed community ownership and local manufacturing, was allegedly blindsided. From that point on, the tone shifted. McElhenney stopped reposting Ryan's viral Wrexham tweets. His own captions became more introspective, more focused on the players, the fans, the heart of the sport. It wasn't just rebranding, it was a reset, but the real bombshell came behind the scenes. One producer linked to the X network claimed Rob quietly began developing a new football docuseries concept, independent of Reynolds. He wants the football to be the main character, the source said, not the Hollywood story, not the celebrity friendship. Just the game, the town, the stakes. Translation, he's building his own version. One that doesn't need the Deadpool glow. One that doesn't rely on viral tweets or celebrity cameos. One that doesn't include Ryan at all. And the audience is taking notice. Wrexham forums are increasingly divided. Some still ride hard for Ryan, praising the global spotlight he's brought to the club, but others, they're planting their flag in Camp Rob. Threads with titles like The Soul versus The Show and Team McElhenney All the Way are lighting up the fan base. They're praising Rob for being present at the training grounds, for staying after matches, for knowing every player by name, not just as content for a camera. Even former players have started chiming in subtly. One ex-captain posted a cryptic tweet. It's not about the storylines, it's about the badge. Fans immediately linked it to the alleged creative friction between Rob's sports-first vision and Ryan's Hollywood polish. The bromance that once sold 1,000 headlines, it's crumbling in real time. And the most poetic part? Rob isn't launching a campaign. He's not leaking audio. He's not orchestrating a narrative. He's just stepping away. And in an industry addicted to noise, sometimes the quietest move is the loudest betrayal. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds didn't just become famous, they engineered it. With razor-sharp PR moves, perfectly timed quips, and just enough relatable chaos to feel human, they branded themselves as Hollywood's golden couple. But behind every curated Instagram post, red carpet smirk, and late-night interview, a different story started bleeding through. A story that suggests their charm isn't just calculated, it's weaponized. Let's start with Blake. For years, she played the role of America's cool older sister. Glamorous but goofy, effortless but grounded, but insiders from It Ends With Us say that image shattered once cameras stopped rolling. Crew members described a set ruled by fear, confusion, and constant revisions. Baldoni's team allegedly couldn't move forward without Blake reapproving everything. Costume changes, script tweaks, even camera angles. And when the original director's cut tested poorly, Blake's version allegedly swooped in like a rescue. But it wasn't a rescue. It was a takeover. Worse, her PR team worked overtime to bury it. The press tour was abruptly rescheduled, then eventually canceled altogether. Leaked emails hint that studios feared putting her in front of reporters would trigger more backlash. A lead actress who couldn't promote her own film? That's not just bad optics, it's career rot setting in. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Ryan's shine is dulling too. When Wrexham AFC was first purchased, the buzz was electric. Documentaries, headlines, fans lining the streets. But lately, that electricity has turned sour. Ryan's decision-making has allegedly alienated longtime fans, local leaders, and, most shockingly, his own co-chair, Rob McElhenney. Reports claim that branding deals were signed without community input, players were benched to fit storylines, and longtime Wrexham traditions were overruled for global appeal. And yet, he's still cracking jokes, still selling Mint Mobile, still pitching the charm, but the cracks are showing. Because as more former collaborators come forward, Abe's chilling pattern emerges. People feel used. Directors pushed aside. Writers erased. Partners ignored. Stylists cut off. One anonymous producer described the Reynolds-Lively dynamic as all smiles in public, all silence in private. Another said, they charm you at the pitch meeting, then you never hear from them again. And let's talk numbers. It Ends With Us was originally projected to be a surprise indie hit. But sources now say distributors slashed the marketing budget by 30% after Blake's alleged conflicts made her a PR liability. Sponsors pulled out. Late-night show appearances quietly disappeared from schedules. One exec reportedly told their team, "There's no way to spin this as girl boss energy. It's a disaster." Over in Wrexham, things aren't faring much better. Ryan's social media posts used to average hundreds of thousands of likes and glowing comments. Now, they're flooded with criticism from Wrexham supporters. Where's Rob? Why aren't the locals consulted anymore? Is this a football club or a movie set? And if that weren't enough, Wrexham Council allegedly had to step in to stop a rebranding campaign that would have erased the town's heritage crest for a sleek, Americanized logo tied to one of Reynolds' companies. The real gut punch? They did it all while smiling. They kept up the performance. They clapped for each other on red carpets. They cracked jokes about diapers and dog food and raising kids. But behind the scenes, trust was unraveling. And not just with fans, but with their peers. Rob McElhenney may be the first to pull away publicly. But industry whispers say he won't be the last. Because once people realize your image is just that, an image, they stop protecting it, they start exposing it. And when that exposure starts, there's no PR machine big enough to stop the fallout. It's hard to watch the king and queen of cool lose their grip, but that's what's happening, allegedly. In Hollywood and Wales, the stories line up. Blake and Ryan, once golden, now accused of controlling everything around them at the cost of creativity, community, and credibility. Rob McElhenney may not have screamed it from the rooftops, but the message is clear. He's done playing second fiddle. And if the Reynolds-Lively brand keeps pushing too far, they might just find themselves without a stage. Because behind every empire built on charm, there's someone who finally decides enough is enough. And in both Hollywood and Wrexham, the revolt has already begun.